Hello. So when last we left off, uh, you guys had left the recovery squad camp to set off towards the ice caves in the mountains to the west of the Savannah Island in search of a glacial changeling, an elemental that kind of rumors say had been spotted behaving in less aggressive ways than the rest of the elementals on the island. Um, During your travel to find this changeling, uh, Aesop's mother, Murda, joined you in an effort to sort of the motherly protection to keep her son safe. And together you crossed a river, watching sort of waters pour off of the edge of the island into a strange fiery pit beneath it, which radiated some kind of psychic energy. You also stumbled upon lavender-scented sands and met a Johnny named Gakina the Virtuous, who seemed to be independently investigating the strangeness of the island himself. Gakina had his own theories about what could be happening and seemed reassured that his brother Merodak was not responsible for it. And you all left in peace and continued on. Woken up briefly by a storm crow, but protected by Flint's cannon shield. And then rested somewhat peacefully, minus a certain mouse who had a certain conversation with her friend back home, Olive Snowbranch, Snowgrass, actually, and encountered had a strange encounter with the powerful and mysterious Arcana, who spoke through Olive and offered a few unsettling words. That's where we left off. So you all just wake up from a short rest. You should have 12 temporary hit points and be at full hit points otherwise. Mouse, you also, just as a reminder, spell Refueling Ring. At the beginning of every day, you can get a 3rd level spell slot. And as you wake up, you also wake up, unfortunately, to a dust storm. One such that sort of offers disadvantage on perception checks and ranged attacks in the sort of period of time that you're in now. If you didn't see my Discord messages, I pre-rolled random encounter and weather, and so for this session. And so as you're waking up and preparing for the day, you're sort of starting to be buffeted by tempestuous winds that are sort of blowing sand around your camp. Nothing that is causing you harm or damage, but just sort of the harsh elements have come back from the calm winds that you've been enjoying over the last few days. But how would you like to... You all sort of greet each other in the morning and have time to prepare before you set back out.
Hey guys, before we go, do you remember Arcana, the purple judge at the
weird purple magic guy? Yeah.
Yeah, he's kind of hard to forget.
So I think he's on my home island and may have hijacked my sending ability last night. And I don't think that's a good thing.
Yeah, that's... Why did he feel the need to do that, I wonder?
Even when we met him, he was very curious about my magic and how I cast spells and how my ship worked. I think he said he was doing research, but my people are a little secretive. We haven't had visitors in a really long time.
I feel like he could have gone about it a different way if he's there for research. Did he say anything weird? Did he kind of leave any hints to like what he's looking for, like specifically?
He said he didn't mean any harm. He was doing research because the power tastes different.
Oh, okay.
No one who's ever done any harm has come in with those intentions, saying they will do no harm and then definitely not betraying those words at all. That'd be crazy.
Well, I think I want to invite him to meet.
Here, or would we get back?
I'm not sure. Probably once we get back. That would make sense, right? I At the same time I worry about him staying on my island any longer than necessary.
I mean, I kind of got the impression that he could kind of be in multiple places at once. With the Tournament of Tales. So he might be able to just send some sort of projection or something here. I'm not sure.
I mean, two thoughts. One, if he sends some sort of projection or aspect of self here, like, I don't know, do you think he could be helpful in trying to figure out what's happening here? And two, when you say hijacked your sending, as in hijack that specific conversation because he was already there, or sending is just like an unsafe, not private conversation now?
So I don't cast sending like a wizard would, but we can send communications through the stars sometimes. And I was talking to a friend of mine from back home, and then instead of her voice, I heard his.
Uh, you heard his voice, or you just heard her speaking like his message? Or...
Good question. Can you
I
clarify?
think it was her voice, but kind of with another voice harmonizing under it in a way that sort of reminded you of him.
So it was through her, but I was pretty sure it wasn't her.
I mean, he's pretty powerful. It could have just been like, not that this is better exactly, but like could have just been him like mind controlling her or something. Like,
Still not good.
yeah, I'm just saying, I don't know that it necessarily means he can like, take over sending spells or something. Maybe it does, but I think there's a lot of ways he could have probably done something along those lines.
Seems like this individual is power hungry, and I think he ran into something that he doesn't understand. And whether he is curious or doesn't like that he doesn't understand, he just needs to know, which worries me. I'm worried that he will do anything to understand. You know what I mean?
Me too. I would rather he do anything to understand with me rather than the whole island.
Right.
I mean, Aventure seemed to like be familiar with him, at least to some extent. Should we maybe just ask Avendir how trustworthy this guy is, or how, worried we should be about it?
I think I remember asking, and we were supposed to not get in his way.
I think I don't have an exact recollection of what Avendir may or may not have said. There was sort of an implication that Avendir was giving deference to Arcana, not that there was a personal relationship there, but that as a judge, like Avendir was at least briefly a handler, just to make sure that Arcana's participation in the Tournament of Tales went smoothly, but that Avendir perhaps himself felt a little bit intimidated by Arcana's presence.
Maybe it's worth reaching out.
I mean,
I can't do anything until tonight, and that's somewhat weather permitting.
Yeah, I was gonna say, can you tonight maybe just check with your people and make sure he's not like doing anything problematic?
Well, you did that last night, didn't you? From what you said, seems like he can kind of interrupt your magic.
Yeah, I did talk to Olive first. It sounds like he's not hurting anyone, but she's not comfortable with the situation either.
Fair. I'll give you the book, Mouse. If you want to like think of a message, you can just send it off.
Oh, I really think you're much better at that message sending and or communication with Avendir than I have proven to be.
Oh, you got it. I'll put it back in my bag. So
I just wanted to fill you guys in.
Yeah, that's wild. And he was a very intimidating individual. So if you need any help or support in that, I don't want to speak for all of us, but I'll help you out.
Absolutely. If anything comes up, just give us a holler. Keep us posted. Or if you want to do anything, let us know.
Well, and all the more motivation to figure out this place quick.
Yeah. Let's get the fuck out of here and then deal with the purple bag.
Well, it's a little hard to see, you guys, but we'll make our way.
Based on our conversations with what's his name yesterday, the genie guy, do we still think we want to head for the glacier cave, or did we want to try and venture south to find your dad?
I'll look at my mom, see if she kind of has an opinion on this question.
She's been listening this whole time to your conversation about Arcana and Avendir, and sort of with a, like, I'll stay out of it look on her face. She's just sort of preparing bedrolls and sort of packing up and sharpening her sword as you guys are having these conversations. But as this sort of topic perks up, she kind of lets out a soft sigh and says, "Well, of course I want to find your father, although it's hard to say. Do you guys feel prepared to make that long of a journey? It seems like it's... If this Gakina fellow's intuition on Tirok's destination is correct, then we're talking several days there, several days back, and that's assuming we can find him."
That also sounds like maybe there's more information about the island as a whole, and I think perhaps our biggest goal should be to save this island from whatever is hurting it so that it can be what it wants to be again.
She speaks up a little bit and says, I would expect that the best way to do that would be for Hardak to gather his forces and march on whatever the threat is. with the might of the recovery squad. So if that's a goal that you're wanting to support, then perhaps looking for clues is the best way to help. I don't know that... She sort of looks at all of you, not with disrespect, but sort of just like caution to say, like, I don't know if we are prepared to save the island, just the 6 of us.
I mean, we're pretty awesome.
The last time we had a major encounter, 2 people almost died.
Almost. That's the important thing, though. We proved that we can have a serious encounter, take on serious threats without actually dying.
You know, that's a great spin. Love that for us. I love that for us.
Lex, I know you're pretty fight heavy. How do you feel about that kind of sentiment?
You never going to know your limits unless you push them. So I'm 100% behind Mouse on this one.
Well,
we made it through. We fought. We survived. What's next?
I mean, just looking at it from like a travel perspective, going to this glacier cave isn't, you know, all that far out of the way. Go down to the island, or down to the lake or whatever. So maybe we should still go there, see if we can find, a better semblance of what might be happening on the island.
I will just sort of remind you from the above board perspective of like where my little pin is does not mean that you'll just like snap your fingers and find it. You might be searching that tile for some time.
Really a 1 mile tile, right?
No.
I'm good with that idea. Let's finish the task we're already on. See what other information we can find. And also, who knows, maybe it'll be, since this is a cave, maybe a place where we can get a good night's rest to kind of springboard onto what we're going to do next.
I couldn't agree more, and I think, let's do what we said we were going to
do. Question, are elementals considered creatures or
Yes.
monsters?
Creatures. Well, I think creatures and monsters are synonyms in D&D. There's creatures and objects, which are, but so you all, it sounds like, continue westward. What is, we've gone through this several times, but on a morning like this morning with dust storms pushing into your eyes as you sort of try to shield yourselves, what is the marching order in this sort of situation?
I imagine kind of similar to like we were doing. If I remember correctly, Mouse was kind of in the front, and I was up front as well, in case we ran into any problem.
I wanted to say Drado was near the front as well, just to, with visibility, you try to see as best we can.
I think my mother and I will stay in the back. Hopefully she has better eyes than I do. So we can just keep a lookout in the back.
And Flynn will be towards the back, but maybe in the middle.
Okay. Something like this from top to bottom, we'll say.
Yeah.
Okay. You all continue after sort of a morning of conversation and sort of packing your things back up before your bags collect too much sand in all the storms. You venture eastward towards the mountains, and go ahead and roll me a perception check, both Mouse and Clax, with disadvantage because of the dust storms.
I got this. And then disadvantage. Yeah, I told you I got it.
No.
It's really dusty down here.
And just following the assumption, I'm following the assumption as well that you guys took the advice of Hardak to travel stealthily. Is that is accurate to say, I assume?
I saw Flint shaking his head.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm
Okay.
kind of indifferent.
Stealth in this situation, for anybody who is depending on sound to locate people, the wind would actually be to your advantage. However, the issue is being able to being able to hide from things that you can't see, because it is just a like what are you hiding from if you don't know what's out there? And as you all are proceeding forward, it sounds like there's a bit of a thunder in the distance. Right now you're not feeling the effects of any rain coming towards you, but it's sort of to the south. You hear just sort of, you don't see any kind of flashes of light, you don't see anything particular, but you just hear thunder to the south. But you proceed on, stealthy as you are, with the perception that you have, and do not find yourself in any real danger during the first leg of this, as you're trying to push your way past the sand that is now building up into small dunes as this wind is blowing through. Go ahead, and those of you who are in the back line, I'll include Murda in this. Go ahead and make me a perception check as well with disadvantage.
Ooh, beans. Oh, dang. Oh.
So sad.
Is Flint included in this, or are we just doing the back two?
Flint can be included in this. Oops, sorry. I accidentally rolled 4 times for Murda. I'm going to take the 16 because that was the first 2 rolls.
Oh,
Dang.
disadvantage is rough.
Yeah. Come on, Murda. Come on, 16.
Murda sort of, through the harsh winds, she sort of shouts loud enough for those of you who are in front to hear her. She says, I see something, pointing sort of in a southwest direction. I'd say more southwest. I'd say generally like here-ish, roughly. As she's pointing, you turn around and you don't see anything. And she sort of says, it was far. There was lightning, but it shot up.
Shut up. Did you see like a form within the lightning, or did you just
I didn't get a good enough look at it.
Okay. Does
far, like,
I'm gonna stage yell. Does this remind anyone of the upside down rain?
I hope not.
I also, not, since Rada didn't roll perception earlier, could he just look?
Oh, yeah, sorry, I forgot that Drada is not
How
part of
dare
either of these
you.
rolls. Yes. Drada, go ahead and keep it. Well, what would you like to sort of roll?
If that got pointed out, I would like to kind of focus on that direction and see if I can spot anything. If there's a repeated lightning strike or anything moving, looking more specifically at where we saw
Okay.
the operation.
I would say this is probably still is a perception check. As Drata just sort of squints in, and it is still unfortunately a disadvantage. I'm sorry to say. Okay, a 15. You see kind of what Murda saw. Go and roll me a survival check on top of that. Okay. Sort of following Murda's thought that it's far away, you get the impression, and sort of knowing what to look out for a little bit, you see another spark of lightning that shoots up into the sky, and it seems to be like you're sort of squinting through different blasts of air in your face, and it seems that the lightning point starts not at ground level, like it's sort of maybe several hundred feet in the sky is where the lightning starts, and then it shoots up.
Okay, it doesn't. I don't think it's upside down rain. It's starting midway sky.
I'd say with the survival 19, the what you were putting together is that it must be starting from on top of the mountain.
Great. There's something super fun on the top of that mountain that's really wanting to make itself known.
Interesting.
Thankfully, it's far away as of now, but
Having spent some time on airships and like up in the sky, is that anything I've ever seen before next to a mountain or just otherwise upward shooting lightning?
You're talking about like a flare situation?
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's not a recognized symbol of anything. Murda has a confused look on her face too, and says, "We don't. As far as I know, we don't have anybody down there."
Has anything like this been reported?
She looks at you and says, "I know you might not think it, but I try to stay as retired as I can be. I'm not in every war meeting."
Fair.
well,
Do
we
you know-
have information to report regardless.
Do you know how much of the island you all have mapped out or explored or whatever since this particular event has started? Have you all sent anyone down into that region yet? At some point?
She thinks about it and says, "Things have been pretty harsh ever since we landed, and it's gotten a little progressively worse, but it's been hard to really get too far. We've moved the camp a few times. For the most part, we've explored the top half of the island as best as I know, and the bottom half is sort of still a work in progress."
Well, shall we continue on though? Let's make a note of the general direction of that, but let's see if we can't get to this cave because I really want to get out of the sand.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like that lightning looks like a later problem. Let's go.
Way later.
Okay. You all sort of shake off that feeling of strangeness in the outer reaches of the island and start to approach, even I would say with the perceptions that you've been rolling, although they haven't been terribly high, you're starting to be able to see bits and pieces of the mountains to the east, sort of poking up between the storms as certain gusts of wind come and go. You start to see the sort of fruition of these mountains come into view. you come to, as you sort of come from this direction, if everybody could go ahead and roll me a group stealth check, assuming that that is still your major mode of transportation. You guys are just getting these out of the way. I think Flint, you also technically have disadvantage. No, you don't. Sorry. I keep thinking you have heavy armor.
Oh, I do have disadvantage though with chainmail.
I think my armor gives
Yeah.
me disadvantage.
Oh yeah, you do. Yeah, both of you do.
Can't be much worse. So. Can be
You
a
said
little
it.
worse.
You said out loud. It's hard to know. It's hard to keep each other in check, given the conditions. I think both Mouse and Drada, you all sort of end up in the front of the line together, with Clax falling a little bit further behind, because you guys are able to sort of comfortably navigate this space while maintaining the stealthy pace. But even so, you don't necessarily hear your friends and their clanking armor behind you. Excuse me. But you do just sort of get I would say, like, grunts of frustration from people who are struggling in this environment as you sort of peak at the base of the mountain with a forked river that is going inwards to sort of a like a mountain cavern system of some kind. This river itself is only about 10 feet across. It's nothing that would be complicated to get across like the previous one was. But as you sort of settle at the base of the mountain, if Mouse and Drada could go ahead and roll me a perception check with disadvantage still. And I forgot to roll stealth for Murda, so I'm going to do that as well. So the two of you sort of just giving this mountain a quick look with a 10 out of 10. With the storms, you just know, looking up, that you're in for a bit of a the cover that storms offer makes it difficult to sort of spot any kind of details of the mountains from afar. Ideally, if there were some caves sort of within line of sight, you would sort of be able to map out and navigate a path up the mountain, and sort of make a plan to climb it in some creative way. But right now, you look up and just see sort of not that much. Your visibility is quite poor. And as your friends catch up to you, sort of a little bit more winded from trying to be stealthy through this storm, you have no idea where to begin.
The river going into the mountain, is it causing like a good enough decent sized cave for us to go through, or is it just kind of like a river going into, it's like just like a casual stream going through?
With the visibility you have now, it's a bending river that goes deeper into some space between two mountains. You'd have to choose to follow it if that's something that you want to glean.
How quickly is the water moving?
Go and give me a survival check. Or nature. With a 25, that's pretty good. This water seems to be... This water seems to be moving at a sort of slower pace than what was previously falling off of the island. Probably, a steady, like, 10 miles per hour. Still nothing incredibly comfortable to get caught up in, but it's not a sort of like white water rapid situation where you would lose control.
Where do you guys want to go?
I can't really see much, unfortunately. Too much sand in my eye.
I feel like
We
we
push
should be looking
into-
for like cold. Like, does it seem like this cave gets cold very quickly?
With the perceptions that you've rolled, you've got no indication of that kind. You'd have to go deeper in.
First, let's start.
I mean, I feel like that's. I don't know if we have really any other. We can't make an informed decision. Shrug on. I guess I don't know.
So, just as well as anything, follow the water to its source. Because if it's a
Yeah.
glacial elemental, it's going to need water. Right?
Seems to-
Sporting some streams, kids.
Should we go ahead with the water walking like we did before? Just in case.
I should tell you that the direction of the water is flowing into the mountains. So that would be, were you to do that, just for your awareness, it'd be like walking on one of those airport escalators, the horizontal escalators that brings you forward.
I mean, as long as it's going with us, I figured we were going to have to treadmill it forward, and that seemed much harder. It will take me 10 minutes, but if walking on the water is the easiest path, I think we could probably make up time that way either way.
True.
I mean, even if we're not mostly walking on the water, having it just in case seems worth it.
I will sit down and start preparing and ritually cast Water Walk.
Okay. While Mouse is doing that, is anybody doing anything else?
Keeping an eye out since we're getting close to where we believe we're supposed to be going. As best I can, obviously, with the weather.
Yeah, sure. If you want to just roll another perception check with disadvantage.
Not
I
really,
think-
but
Fair. I think I'm looking around, just trying to see if there's anything we missed or now that we're closer. If anything comes up.
Give me an appropriate check for depending on what you're trying to snuff out.
It's
Drada.
the perception, baby.
Okay, with disadvantage.
Going
Yeah.
in. Oh, sorry. We can
No,
get
go
to
ahead.
that. Going into this mountainy area, I am going to. Oh wait, never mind. Never mind. I was going to give someone inspiration, but it's a 10-minute thing, so I'm going to wait. Yeah.
I am going to go ahead and take the extra minute to show Drada the stars and cast Gift of Alacrity.
Cool. With a perception of 19, something hits your nose. And you follow that for a little bit, and it's sporadic, but it comes and goes, but there's a kind of like an acrid or acidic scent to the water. It's like occasionally there will be a gush of water that seems somewhat tainted with this acidic thing. And what I think you would gauge from this is that the water walking thing is still possible, but also that it's going to be more of a trial to come across it safely than you would originally hope for.
Gotcha. Clarification: when you say acrid, is that like, as in like polluted acid rain in a way, or like caustic? Like there's something mixed in the water,
Yeah,
or
roll me a survival check. With a 12, it doesn't seem naturally occurring, but a 12 isn't really high enough to discern that. You wouldn't know of a naturally occurring source that would necessarily do this. But I would say it would also probably occur to Drata that this storm is just pretty fucky. Who knows what's coming down in this water or in this rain?
fair? Yeah, I think you watch Drata stand still and then aggressively start sniffing a river for a moment. But after that, just hey, a heads up, it's not constant, but there's something wrong with this water source. There are gushes and flows of something. I don't know. All I'm saying is water walking might be more fun than we anticipated.
I don't know that I can figure it out like in this moment or anything, but I'll take like a vial of the water, like just collect some. Maybe when we're back at camp or something, I can try and look at it more closely, figure out what's going on with the water once I can actually like set up my alchemy stuff.
And I think I would direct it sniffing the water, being like, "Oh, we got something else to come in," just to make sure it's not just water in a flask.
Fair.
Yeah, what you're able to collect, I want to be like, it's not pure acid. You can't bottle it and use it in a creative way, but you get a sample of something that you can put to your alchemist tools later.
So do we now follow? I think we should at least follow the river, but maybe not get in it. Is that your diagnosis, Strata?
Yeah, I think the current might just provide some unexpected gifts.
Okay, lovely.
And Mouse, how long does the spell last?
Water walk?
Huh?
An hour.
I say we take advantage of the full hour of it, because if the current's at our back, I understand that there's something not quite right, but there's nothing quite right with this whole island. So take advantage of the mobility as best we can. An hour with a 10-mile-an-hour tailwind, essentially, we're moving. If I remember correctly, that was the ballpark speed somebody said.
Mm-hmm.
We're moving. We can cover a lot of ground that way. So
Do you want to test it out, Clax?
I'll be the first one to try.
Okay.
Because it doesn't work, I'm going to sink like a rock. So we'll find out real quick.
Okay. I will be here to help. Try different ways.
And I'll be here to watch as this goes very well from the sideline.
So Clax, you're sort of like dipping your toes in and sort of going on a test run.
I don't know if I'd feel comfortable dipping my toes in, because if it's a 10-mile-an-hour kind of pool, I think it's one of those, we're going to try it, sink or swim, see what happens.
If should we be prepared to jump in after you if it's as quick as it's sounding?
I should be able to swim to the shore. I'm not going to jump away from the water's edge. Like, I'm just going to be there, but even if it's that quick, I should be able to swim back to the shore relatively easy. Might be a little slow with all my weight, but... All right, I step off.
All right. Just give me a dexterity saving throw to just sort of like it's like walking on ice in a strange way.
Yep. Nope.
Klax doesn't get swept away, but putting his foot down with, I would say, some degree of confidence, hoping to be able to maintain the speed of the river, you sort of slip, and you don't take any kind of damage. You're falling on water, but and you're I think with water walk you don't. It's not just that your feet are magical. It's sort of like your entire body cannot be submerged, and so you kind of hit this watery pillow surface beneath you as you all watch Klax be swept away at a speed that you're starting to realize that in the time it will take him to stand up, he's going to be 150 feet ahead of you.
Jump on, everyone.
Let's go get him, I guess.
Okay.
Flint jumps on.
I jump on.
Okay. You guys, go ahead and everybody should give me a dexterity saving throw just to kind of give me a sense of your proficiency with this at the moment. You're just looking to beat a 10. It's actually not a tremendously difficult check. It makes some sense to me that the two heavy armor wearers are having a little bit of trouble. As you all sort of step on, I would say probably a few seconds apart from each other so that you don't sort of fall on top of each other. The waters continue to take you forward, and those of you who did fall, you find yourself at a sort of temporary disadvantage in just trying to find your footing and figure out what to pay attention to. And I want to ask you guys. You guys have been told about this potential acidic source, but what are you doing other than just riding the wave? Are you guys just taking this until you see something?
Be on the lookout for like any formations of ice, any indications of colder weather, mist, fog, anything indicating that kind of stuff.
Okay. What is our order? Who jumped in what order? Because Klax was first, and you guys are not standing next to each other in this situation.
I think Flint and I were in the beginning of that group.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think Flint jumped pretty quick, seeing what was going on.
I think Drada was behind maybe Asa.
Okay.
I'll bring up the rear.
We'll say something.
And Murda.
Yeah, we'll say something like Murda's probably last. She is sort of in follower mode, so to speak. So we'll say something like this. Now, so I heard what you said, Aesop, as far as what you're looking out for, but really we should be taking this from the front, because if Klax sees something, he needs to somehow communicate that back to folks. So, Klax, what do you steady yourself after just an initial sort of jarring few moments against this current, but what is it that you're focused on in the first minute of going down this river?
I think just the first minute is more not running into anything. Make sure there's no sharp banks, stones jetting up from the water, any hazards or anything like that. I'm actually not too focused on the surroundings at the moment, as I'm just trying to get familiar with the new environment, the speed we're moving, everything else.
Okay.
So if everything's obvious, yes, but I don't think there's anything specific, especially in the sandstorm, that Klax is looking out for.
Okay. I'm going to give this a survival check for you as you just sort of try to get familiar.
Nope. Okay. Man, rolling well today.
It's you haven't hit anything dangerous at this portion of the journey. However, I think it probably occurs to Klax for a moment to just think what are we doing? You're trusting that water walk will carry you to a place that you need to go, and the way that this river is winding, your ability to react quickly to something like a rocky overhang that you have to duck under or something like that. There's not. You feel like you're a little. You've positioned yourself in a way where you're just a little caught off guard. And so you don't really gather any information to pass back down the line at the moment. Flint, what are you sort of paying attention to?
I think largely just trying to get a feel for, you know, the speed we're moving at and how to get his feet under him and make this, you know, a little easier to navigate. Just, you know, getting better at this and yeah, starting to, you know, kind of grasp the situation, where they're headed, how far apart everybody is, how, you know, I think he's like preparing like a minor illusion or something like that to be able to signal to people to, you know, get to the edge if need be. And, you know, probably looking for a good spot for them to just get off of the river soon, just to like regroup and see how everybody's doing, you know, and if we're still comfortable continuing on with this route.
Yeah, I would say to some degree you guys are probably within shouting range, although you will lose every element of stealth in doing so. So you know that I just say this for the mechanical explanation. You guys kind of can be checking in with each other, but it's just a matter of like, but it still may be wise, like you said, to stop and be able to check in as well. Go ahead and roll me, I would say, an investigation check as you're sort of considering your surroundings.
I guess this sort of leads to another question. What exactly is the situation with this river? I thought I'd gotten the impression we were going like literally into the mountain at some point, and I was in my head.
This is a river that from the initial fork in the river that you stepped into, it bended in between two mountains. So it wasn't really clear that it was going into a cavern or anything, but that so it was
still outdoors.
You're still outdoors presently, yes. Okay. Investigation 19. Sort of as the river twists and turns and you sort of are able to find a firmer plant on your feet, you start to sort of assess the nature of the erosion that this river has caused across the mountains, and sort of are trying to gauge how and where it will be possible to step off if need be. At the moment, you don't see anything along the lines of like a cave that you can sort of jump into or anything like that. Nor do you see any sort of like cavern on the horizon that you're going towards. For the purposes of your sort of position at the moment, though, you have advantage on sort of, I would say you're the forward-most person with awareness on what's happening, and so you have advantage on sort of like keeping the team's position in check.
Okay.
With that in mind, is there anything you communicate backwards in the short term?
I think just that, like, let's hold steady for now, keep, you know, following this, but we'll, you know, maybe take a break soon.
Okay. Aesop, you hear that, and sort of as you have your feet more firmly planted down already, is there anything in particular you're trying to get out of this first bit of the ride?
Yeah. I'm sorry, Flint, did you indicate that there were no caverns in the area? would you have mentioned anything?
I'd have probably said something along the lines of I haven't seen any caves or anything yet. Let's keep
Okay.
going.
I think I would trust his perception on that. I think I would see. I think the acidic or acrid waters would kind of confuse me. See if there's a source to that. And if there's actually, you know what? Change. I want to see if anyone. I'll have disadvantage because it's perception, but I want to see if we're being watched. If there's anything now that we're going into the mountains. If there's like something, eyes, like glowing eyes watching us or anything from kind of the higher levels. So I'm definitely looking up rather than eye level.
Okay. Go ahead and roll perception for this one, of course, with disadvantage.
Mm-hmm.
You know, 10 is not bad given the fact that you are on a raging river and you're not able to be cautious really anyway.
Right.
You don't hear, I would say you don't hear anything out of the ordinary. This island has never, the behavior of these elementals has never really been like hunter types anyway. You've always sort of like happened upon them and then they've attacked aggressively. And so you look and you don't see any sort of threat, and that sort of reassures you that there probably isn't at this very moment. Otherwise they would be attacking. Drado.
Cool. Question: how wide is the river at this point?
I'd say it's probably about 15 feet across.
I think Drada with a 22 dexterity save is like not speed skating. Or at least, I don't know, he's a kid. He's finding some fun in this very dangerous and scary moment. But the thought behind speed skating, or just kind of getting lower to the water, is just knowing that there are several party members ahead who are looking on, heard reports, caves and all that jazz. I think is really scanning the river itself to see if there is any gush of any sort of nasty water or like any rocky outcropping, or really just trying to look ahead, especially knowing that Clax fell. So trying to look forwards.
Okay. Go ahead and I think this it's perception. It's with disadvantage if you're looking kind of like where the dust storm would be, and it's just a straight roll if you're looking into the water that's at your feet. Or if you're trying to accomplish something else.
No, I think it's probably a disadvantage. I think I'm trying to look further down the river.
Okay.
So that's probably a disadvantage.
Sure. Not bad so far.
Okay.
Okay. Man, dust storms are harsh when you're in such a perception heavy environment. You sort of, well, I'm going to ask you another question too, because if Drada is sort of speed skating a little bit, would you take advantage of your ability to move faster than everybody else in this party to go up or back?
I think I am trying to move forward a little bit.
Okay.
Hence why I was asking how wide this river is. I'm also trying to give a wide berth.
Okay.
I'm not trying to risk bumping,
crashing into anybody. Yeah. Okay. I think for all intents and purposes, you're able to sort of catch up to Aesop in this sort of in this moment.
Hello. Are you speed skating?
I'm glad that speed skating just exists as a sport in this universe. Yeah, no, it's like honestly just like try pushing off a little bit to the sides as you go. It really makes for a smoother ride.
Okay, I tried something like this at Titlefall, but I never got my balance right. I'm trying to. Maybe that's why I got a
Title
10.
call just had
But I'm
a
trying
river that
to
you can pass water
beat
off in.
skate.
You hear. It's a little late for both of you to hear this with your perception checks, but you hear, kind of like as you're going up for Drata, your decision to move is actually to your advantage in the situation because you hear like a tumbling boulder that falls off of the nearby mountain and crashes into where you were. Like a little mini avalanche of sorts. You look up with your low perception rolls and you unfortunately don't see if there's a source to it, but you just realize that like, oh, that could have been bad.
I'll look at Drata. Uh-oh.
Okay, so speed skating's no longer fun. It's
Yep,
now life.
fully planted.
Mouse, you sort of hear the big splash ahead of you as you try to go ahead and give me a dexterity saving throw as you're just sort of like trying to push past the splash of water that comes from it. Okay, no problem at all. You're able to just sort of shield your face and maintain your footing as you continue to drift down the river. Is there anything you're doing?
I think because it seems essential at the moment, Mouse is really just focused on maintaining concentration and not like doing anything to risk that. After she thinks 45 minutes has passed, she'll maybe be like, "Hey guys, maybe we should pull off to the side. I don't want this to run out on us at a bad moment."
Okay. Just a reminder, water walking is not concentration.
I always forget that.
Yeah.
That's even better. I don't know that Mouse remembers that.
Mouse is still
Just
concentrating
concentrating.
anyway.
Guys, this seems really important.
Okay. Mouse communicates that up ahead, sort of focusing, I would say concentrating on the timer more than anything, knowing that you don't want to lose track of time in this situation and then end up being taken by the river. Roll a good old check for Murda. Oop. You all hear a kind of I would say a hearty shriek of pain from Murda, who is not able to warn anybody other than from her gasp as Mouse, you look back and see her just sort of like having fallen, and like her arms are singed from the water that she fell upon. You look briefly and see, and go ahead and, well, no, you don't have to roll for this. As you're sort of looking for the cause of it, you see kind of a black shape riding past Murda up into the river towards you, Mouse.
Just a black shape?
Something under the water.
Oh no, guys, there's something under the water.
Should we get off?
Yes? Maybe? I turn back to try and help Murda.
And then, oh god, seeing my mom fall like that, I get that, I have that image in my head, and I'll turn back to Clax and yell at Clax, "Clax, get off the river!"
And Drata shouts. Yeah, echoing that.
All right, I will, not knowing what's going on, but just hearing get off the river. I'm the nearest point of exit I can find. That doesn't look like I'm going to break my neck as I try to get off the water. Is where I'm going to try and get off.
Okay. Go and roll me an investigation check as you're just trying to find the best spot. Okay. You find just a sort of gravel landing that seems to be extremely porous. It's like the water has been pushing into this and eroding it in a very steady way as water splashed on it, but it seems to create a smooth landing that you're just able to hop off. And as people come closer into view, you kind of wave them and catch the arms of folks who are coming through. But before they actually all catch up with you, this black shape does sort of make a run through the rest of the party. I need Mouse to roll with disadvantage, and for Flint, Aesop, and Drada to roll a dexterity saving throw.
Guess I don't need that disadvantage.
You all succeed except for Mouse. You will take, if you succeeded, you take half of this. This is 16 acid damage. That's sort of, I would say most of you have all of you have the benefit of Flint's shield for 12 of the damage. So those of you who this it doesn't bypass the shield, you just kind of feel like a strange I'd say it would be more the smell of sizzling against kind of an electric shield that you guys would all sort of feel as you as this sort of courses under you. But Mouse, who you sort of lose your footing for a moment and your body slams into the water, the shield burns away, and so do some of your like arm hairs and some of a little bit of your arm, as you sort of steady yourself and get caught by Clax somewhere on the edge of the river up forward. The shape seems to pass. This whatever black entity or object or whatever it was, it seems to have sort of traveled underneath you guys and left behind this wake of acidic water before continuing down south, or continuing down east further into the mountains.
Did it like leap out at us, or just the act of it flowing under us?
Just the act of it flowing under you.
Okay.
So what was that? And is everybody all right?
Mom, you doing okay?
She's actively bandaging herself up a little bit. It looks like she took the full damage, having not seen it. But she says, all is fine. I have no idea what that is. I know that there are elementals of all kinds, but
Almost like acidic rain water elemental. I didn't even know something like that could kind of coexist in form.
she says, well, similar to this ice elemental, it's sort of a merge of water and earth. I think that an acid elemental could very easily be a similar sort of thing, depending on what's merging with what.
Can I just take a good look around now that we're stopped and just see, do we, are there any caves or whatnot on the horizon or anything like that?
Would join you in looking.
I'll say for the purposes of this, I know that when I started at the top, I said like the first 10 minutes, but I think realistically, you guys rode a pretty steady stream for a good half hour, 40 minutes before all this happened. And so you know that the water walk is starting to wear off a bit. And I'd say right now, just at a glance, you are now deep enough into the mountain range, knowing that you've made significant distance in a short amount of time. You're deep enough into the mountain range where you're still sort of at ground level, having not traveled up at all, of course. But now you are sort of surrounded by mountains. The mountains also are not sand covered like everything else is. They're mostly stone, and as a result, the sort of dust storm that you currently find yourselves in, a lot of that sand is sort of is shielded from the mountains that you're surrounded by. So there's almost a moment of calm despite the heavy winds that you're currently enjoying. You still sort of have the disadvantage on, I would say, ranged attacks from the winds, but the perception you are able to see clearly presently.
I will go up to Murda, and even though she's bandaging herself up, I feel like as her child, I feel like I need to help. I will cast a level 1 Cure Wounds on her.
Okay. She didn't look that bad, but she does take it nonetheless, and says, "So, you seem to have learned a lot at the university."
They were very intelligent and helped me find my way in my own magic. But took a heavy hit, it looked like, so just wanted to help out.
She gives you like a motherly half hug, like in gratitude, and like ruffles your hair a little bit. And she just sort of gets back into the moment with the party and sort of starts looking up into the mountains and just sort of asks, I'd prefer to not do that again, but what now?
Yeah, as fun as that was, maybe we should try and get some high ground, get a good vantage point to look around.
I will also note, Drada and I did, or I guess Mouse too, we saw a rock fall in Drada's old position before they moved, so there might be still something else out there, because I doubt the water elemental was able to throw a rock at us that big. So keep an eye out.
In an island this big, I would expect there to be other things out there.
Do I see... I'll start the perception. Is there any, like, ice formation, fog, mist?
I would say it's less of a perception game right now, and it's more...
Investigation.
It's like, well, and it's a matter of how do you want to proceed as a group, you know?
I see.
If you're going to investigate, are you going to investigate along the riverbed? Or are you going to just start climbing a mountain and just start to search it thoroughly for any sort of entrances? What is the direction that the group would take? Because right now you're sort of in this... you're in this, like... I don't want to say courtyard. I'm thinking like you're in a spot that is, there's very clearly nothing in front of you, and now you just sort of have to choose a direction on where to go.
I like the idea of finding some higher ground. So I say we move away from the river, put ourselves on it, and forgive me. Based on this rock you said that was thrown, are we on the side where the rock would have been thrown from, or are we on the other side of the river?
High or low?
High.
We'll say no.
We're not on the side of the...
Yeah, you're on the opposite side.
Okay. Yeah, then I think just finding... I don't know about you guys, but I think finding overlook with a better... Sorry, collecting thoughts. Find an overlook with a better chance of visibility to see what our surroundings are is probably our best bet at this point.
Agreed.
Yeah, I agree.
All right.
Okay.
We can take off our sand shoes then, from the sounds of it as well. Then at this point.
Correct. Yeah, it's probably uncomfortable to walk with sand shoes on the rock.
So good. Put them back in my pack, and then if anybody doesn't have a direction, I'm just going to start finding a path as best I can.
We'll follow.
Yeah, I mean, I think whatever As long whatever not involves us not scaling sheer cliff face, that sounds great.
Can we like use the river and any tributaries to make a logical guess about where uphill would be based on the features that we can see, so that we're not just going in a random direction?
If Mouse would like to roll a nature check to sort of suss that out a little bit.
So probably just a random direction. Yeah.
Does Mouse know what a tributary is?
I mean, the river's at the bottom, so everything else is up.
Yeah, and
Up
there's
to-
there's no sheer cliff faces, or at least not along the whole way. I think like you could use your logic to be like, all right, let's find something climbable. Who is leading this investigation? I'm not suggesting that this has to be the answer, but I do know that I know of a certain party member who likes to climb things.
Really do. This party member also has a +0 to investigation. But like for the fun of it, yeah, I'll have a great time.
Max was running forward. He's got +0 to most things. So yeah, if Drada wants to join me up front, maybe be a mountain goat.
I got a bunch of rope. We have one spell that uses rope in fun ways. Maybe we'll have to use it. How exciting!
That's true.
Okay. If the two of you could roll an investigation check, or one of you can help the other and get advantage.
I'll help. I did something.
Okay, yeah, you improved a 9 to a 12. Go ahead and tell me what is Drada's approach to this situation.
I think knowing that we have party members with varying degrees of mobility, and also size. I think Drada's searching for a route. Like, is Drada searching for an accessible route? I think something that would move them upwards to a point where, yeah, like I could see looking off in the distance, there might be a vantage point. It might not be the most direct way to get there, but it would be the safest way.
With safety in mind, is Drada leading the party through a stealthy approach as well? Or is it
That's
more...
Drada's general way of being, and I don't think he would advise otherwise.
Okay. If we can have a group stealth check, then. And Flint with disadvantage, unfortunately.
Yeah, I thought I clicked it, but
It's fine.
there it goes.
For me, they're all coming up so quickly. Every time I clicked, that
Yeah.
screen moved.
It's not the worst, but of course, there's a natural one from Murda, as well as some low numbers from Flint and Aesop.
The Tyrans really just start. We're not stealthy people.
There's a little bit more noise than you would be comfortable with, Drada. And what do you do about that?
I think we're doing the best we can. Rara has kind of been thinking all day, if we ever do find safe haven, or at least a place where there is a moment to rest, like a how-to guide on how to walk without making noise might be helpful for the party. I was just really aggressively considering a nice quiet workshop later on in the day, but for now it's just kind of wincing with every noise that's heard. Or like maybe an occasional shh, but what can you do?
You continue up the mountain, and investigation 12, you're not finding any signs of the things that you as a party have claimed to be looking for, insofar as like temperature shifts or any kind of obvious dark interiors leading into the mountain, anything like that. But you do climb, not as stealthily as you would like, but thankfully without sort of drawing the attention of anything that you know at least would be here. As you're getting further and further up the mountain, if we're although I'm not going to be tracking every little token movement here, I'm kind of imagining that it's sort of this bottommost mountain, that you sort of hopped off the right side of the river and you're sort of in the southern mountain right now. You climb for a number of hours, as it starts to get a little darker. You, Drada, leading the pack, have the joy of dark vision in this scenario. But I would ask that as you know that your party is sort of struggling to be stealthy already, you see, I would say, like, you turn your eyes as you consider continuing, and you hear the sounds of Murda starting to light a torch.
How sheer is the, like, mountain we're climbing? Like, is granted that I was trying to find safety in mind? Is it like, oh, there's a 5-foot trail and then it's a drop below? Or is it a more graceful elevation?
Right now you've been taking kind of like a the route that you've taken to be safest at the moment has been sort of long and arduous, but it's been something that can be climbed without gear and without risk. It's been sort of hopping from rocky outcropping to rocky outcropping, and sort of like there's no trail, so to speak, but it does have, it's sort of like, it's difficult terrain. You're sort of like watching your every step to make sure that that you don't send a boulder careening off the ledge of the mountain, but it is sort of a gradual incline up and sort of spiraling the mountain.
Great. So if it is at least difficult enough that you are watching your every step, I think I would maybe advise, like, hey, if you need to light a torch or provide some light to see, y'all go do that. But, like, just be wary. That's will draw attention to us regardless. If folks who have dark vision wanted to maybe get a little bit of distance, just so we have this, like, light bulb shining, but if that attracts unwanted attention, we can at least be unseen and then quickly help out. That's where my brain goes to. Or if we want to just, I'm not saying douse the torches, because no, you shouldn't stumble in the dark. That sounds like a terrible idea.
And Murda just says out loud, she just looks a little winded as she's just trying to keep up with you, and says, like, I mean, should we just sleep now? I'm not in charge here. I'll follow you all.
We want to find a spot that's a little more sheltered, or do you want to just rest here? No, I'm looking at Murda.
Yeah, I would be looking at Murda too.
She kind of like looks around and says, I can't see, and yeah, if we could find somewhere for cover, I would feel more comfortable, but if you want to keep pushing on, I'll try my best.
Well, why don't we do this? Drada, do you mind going up on ahead, just scout for the next couple 100 yards, see if you can find anything. I'll stay back here. I'll also pull out my axe and have the glow come off of it, and we'll kind of wait back here to hear from you. And if there's nothing in the relative near future, we'll just camp here for the night.
I can also just, while we wait here, I can put dancing lights around us. It just shuts off dim light 10 feet around us. Gives us at least some kind of sight for people who don't have dark vision surrounding us. I don't think it's a glaring torch, but I think that might be helpful.
Yeah, you see your mother puts away like she hadn't finished lighting it yet, and she sees that there are now avenues that she can sort of use her hands to help her with her climbing without having to hold a torch at the same time.
Yeah, probably better than me lighting the axe of 30 feet of bright light for 30.
Yeah, so
Right,
I'm going to cast dancing lights. Beep. And it's going to be 4 candles that kind of string across the party, and just to flavor it a little bit, they're all connected by a string, because they can't be within a certain range, so I imagine there's like a string amongst them.
It's like Christmas lights almost.
Yeah, but they're candles.
One, that's very cute. 2, yeah, sure, I can scout ahead.
Thank you, Drada.
Are you are you taking, now that you are maybe unburdened by the party, are you gonna still kind of follow the route that they would have been climbing, or are you gonna try to be more aggressive with your climbing? Or
I mean, I'm happy to make a couple checks and a couple choices with varying degrees. I'm really just trying to scout around finding the closest thing that one could qualify as shelter.
okay, go ahead and roll me another investigation check then. For some reason, like once upon a time when I suggested that you lead the investigation, which was not that long ago, for some reason I thought you had like a +8. But,
Perception, yeah.
yeah.
If you want me to notice something, I got you. If you want me to intently search on something and not have my brain
not so much.
jump from topic to topic, absolutely not.
What are the rest of you doing as you're just sort of waiting for Drada to report back?
I'm just keeping an eye out, because now that we're giving off light, just make sure that as best we can tell, nothing's spying on us.
Thinking that I should have given Drada inspiration.
I think as the remaining member of the party that does have dark vision, I'll probably move a little bit away from the group and just try and keep an eye out for anything that might be approaching or looking at the group now that they are lit up.
I will give you inspiration now that I feel somewhat productive. Flint.
Seeing how she struggled with stealth, I will guide Murda.
Okay. Flint, do you want to use that inspiration and like you want to make a perception, or do you want to like how do you want to leverage your dark vision in this moment?
Sure. I will make a perception check just to see what's going on.
Okay.
Is that
a D8? I believe.
Yes. It upgraded. Woohoo.
Pick 13.
Not great, but 13.
I'd say with a 13, you're kind of just trailing. You don't really see anything out of the ordinary in this moment, but you are able to kind of keep eyes on Drada to sort of ensure that they are not getting into any trouble as they step further and further away. Drada, you get up a little further. How far did you suggest that you might be going?
Couple 100 feet. in a couple directions, but nothing too far.
Okay. From I'm being nice, but from the investigation standpoint, you're not really finding anything sort of like new and secure that would sort of indicate a good spot to lay down in camp. But you are at the highest. You sort of go up a little more steep than your party would be comfortable climbing. Take advantage of this moment to separate a little bit. So you're at the highest vantage point that really your party has been so far. So if you want to roll me a perception check as well, as you just do a
You are
180.
very kind. Thank you.
Okay. It's not. You sort of look with your dark vision, which I believe is longer than normal, right? It's
It
120 feet.
is.
Okay. Now the sun has gone down to the point where I think you're enjoying your full invisibility. So actually, Flint, you can't see Drod at all. But besides that, with your 120-foot dark vision, just sort of using the starlight as what little vision it offers, and with a 20-foot perception, which is really high, you see something that's probably it's further up the mountain, and it almost seems like a broken column of some kind, like a stone column. You just sort of see it. What you're not able to see anything of detail, but what you see is like the outline of something that looks more intentionally carved than just sort of a rocky outcropping. And it's just like, oh, that's like smooth stone up there, except for this like one jagged broken part. And it's sort of is column shaped, but you're really just seeing the silhouette of it against the stars. And this is probably a good 200 feet above you.
Is there an easy way to get to it? Like, is it just straight up above me, or?
With the investigation earlier, you don't really see an easy way to navigate this with the party in mind at night. Drada could pull some Drada tricks to get up there probably relatively easily with a little extra time.
Yeah, I think if it's for the party, yeah, Strahda's intrigued. Also, who the fuck knows what's up there? We'll head back. Sounds like a great place to try exploring tomorrow.
Okay. Drada returns with no better alternatives
so
for
there's
a
no
camp.
cover. However, there is a very cool looking column. That's exciting. Or at least something distinctly man-made above us.
But we can't get to it tonight.
Oh no, I went up a good like 150 feet, and it was a good 200 feet above me. So that unless we want to push, we could try.
Yeah,
But
and just adding a little bit to it, it's like you went up 150 feet at sort of like the walkable steep level, but this was like a sheer sheer cliff above you, and it would require more like intentional climbing.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I guess we're camping here tonight.
Realizing dancing lights is a 1 minute spell. So I probably would have. Yeah.
I'm remembering the very first session when you like had to cast it every minute when you guys were like investigating the abandoned shed, and you were feeling very tired about it.
I'll probably do the same. Reminiscing.
All right, let's go ahead and get yourselves as comfortable as you can on the rock, and we'll set up some watches and go from there.
Okay.
I'll take first watch.
Mom, you want to go? You want to do a second one?
Sure.
It,
However I can help.
Oh, maybe we should have someone with dark vision.
yeah, I think we only have 2 people with dark vision.
No, keep your mommy son time. You're good.
Okay.
We'll divide otherwise. Flax, I can join you.
Sounds good.
I guess.
Flynn?
Yep. Third watch.
All right.
Something happened, sorry, mommy son time. I am not responsible.
You all sort of taking your first watch. You are able to. I'm just kind of giving some environmental considerations. You hear the dust storm sort of subsides, and you start to hear the thunder pick up from the distance. In the past, this has sort of been followed by kind of lightning strikes that have sort of slammed into or near you all as you've traveled, and it sort of occurs to you like should we move camp or should we continue pushing on to seek shelter? But something about it in this moment feels safe. Not like mystically you're told that it's safe, but it's the thunder seems to be happening outside of this mountain range. Seems to be like you hear lightning strikes that are kind of distant and far away. You are, for the time being, I will say, in that stage where fire-based spells will do half damage, but otherwise the weather is unaffecting folks. But if you two could roll a perception check with that in mind.
Sorry, did not mean to click on the performance.
Clax starts singing.
Oh my god, Clax. You really should.
Too bad I burned a 19. That's the problem. That was a good roll. It was a misclick.
Yeah, Clax, what are you singing?
Since I got forced into this, like a drinking song. Clax is not the most cultured individual. He thinks back to his time at the barracks and kind of just does one of those little, kind of tap on the knee and, kind of hums it very low and quiet. Not trying to draw attention, but just trying to break up the monotony of the night.
I think Drada is listening in quietly, even trying to quietly as not to raise attention, but probably raise attention, being like trying to find harmonies as you're going, without really knowing the song. So it's a lot of stop and start. But after a while, I think would just say would ask where you had learned the song or the song you were humming, and with learning from the barrack that you learned it from a drinking song at the barracks. Like, I don't know, just ask. Especially since being back in consonants for a while. Like, do you miss it? How are you feeling about it all?
I don't really miss the work. I didn't really make friends that much, so no, I don't think I missed it a lot. This has actually been quite a bit more fun than I would have expected. I've gotten to do a lot more than just, smacking together a couple thugs and stuff like that. Like, I feel like I'm actually doing things. Things I think I'm supposed to do good things in this world, and I think this is a step. I think we've already started to hopefully chip away at Selny. So we'll see what we can do with that. So no, I don't miss it, to answer your question.
Appreciate. I mean, Yeah, we still get a fair amount of head smacking going on here.
Oh yeah, but it's a little more of a challenge. You know, think about it. We took out a Stormcrow. You
We
know,
really shouldn't have, but we really did.
absolutely.
But yeah, was being back in consonants, like, was that okay for you? Like, how did that feel? I mean, I know it hasn't been that long, but at least for me, it's felt very much like a big life shift left, joining the left stars. Feels right, but no, left. But anyways,
I get what you mean. Um, no, I can't say it really was that weird. It's just different. You know, different perspectives. The biggest thing I kind of missed was just not really being in the know, knowing who's where, who's doing what. That was probably the biggest challenge, but I think other than that, it was fine. How about you? Was that your first? That was your first time to consonants, correct?
oh, it sure was.
What were your thoughts of the city?
It's nice until you look at a giant marble wall that divides a whole bunch of people.
Yeah, somebody needs to do something about that wall one of these days.
Like, don't get me wrong, it's a nice wall. Like, the marble's great. It's nice stone. They did a nice job. But like, it. I understand wanting to keep certain people and certain things safe. But at that point and at that scale, I don't know, it felt more like keeping people out than keeping things in.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Drata, with a perception 15. You don't have to act on this right away, but it's just sort of, as Clax is saying, absolutely. You sort of keeping your eyes on that. Having been closer to those ruins, you are able to sort of identify the direction that they're in. And it seems that there's sort of like a very, very soft, like, ray of light coming down onto whatever is in that vicinity. Like a very soft spotlight, like a conical shape just coming from the sky up in the stars that seems to be shining down in this area. It's very faint.
Does it read as starlight?
Probably, yeah. It's not much brighter than the kind of ambient light that the stars give itself, but you're just, the perception 15, you're able to get just like almost like an like there's an outline to it that just shimmers ever so slightly more.
Cool. I think I'd point that out to Clax. Just, I don't know if you can see it up there, but there seems to be some circle of light up by those ruins I mentioned earlier. I mean, it kind of looks like starlight. Maybe it's a trap. Maybe it's something cool for Mouse. Who's to say? Regardless, people should probably know there's something more to what's above us.
You mean like right there, or do you mean over there, or
Like,
there?
and I like grab your hand and I point kind of in the right direction, but it takes like 3 jerks of your arm to get it in the right direction. Like kind of like there, like squint, but like kind of keep one eye open. Yeah, like that. We'll see it in the morning. It's fine. It's fine.
Okay.
I'd say you can, with the help, you're like, oh yeah, there's something that's a little odd. Maybe you don't have the dark vision, so it is very, very, very faint. But you're like, oh, that's.
I was just
maybe
gonna play it off like, yeah, I see it. Yeah, we'll have to let him know in the morning. Meanwhile, Clax is still thinking the first place he pointed was where it was. So, well, we'll definitely let the others know though when we get Ace up and Murd up for watch, and have them pass it on down to Mouse and Flint as well.
Yeah. I hope this is good for Aesop. I mean, not that every parent-child needs a dangerous trek into an unforgiving wilderness to really bond, but No, I think it could be nice.
Yeah. Well, just I very curious about his father though. I want to make sure he's all right before we leave. Which we haven't talked about how we're gonna leave, but that's something else.
Don't worry about that part. That feels like 3 steps from now, and we can't even seem to figure out the next step. So
Agreed. Just didn't want to slip our minds.
Okay.
no, there's a mainland someday.
You wake up the second watch.
Ace up and murder.
No,
Yes,
this is
passing along the information.
Mouse and
to pass
Flint.
along.
Oh, I
believe.
thought Ace up murder was second. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I might have got the order wrong.
Nope. You guys tell me.
I'm not partial to either watch.
Yeah, me neither.
DM, we'll go with
Fine
you.
with me. Yeah.
Okay. We'll go with what I had, but I'm
Okay.
sorry if I'm wrong. So Mouse and Flint for the time being.
So hey, heads up. I don't know if this would be of interest to you, Mouse, but those ruins I mentioned earlier have kind of like a cone of light shining from above, really faintly up on them. And it doesn't not read as starlight. I have no idea if it actually does, but
You look at Mouse and you don't need to roll perception check to sort of see what Drod is pointing out. It's not necessarily more vibrant to you, but you don't have to rely on dark vision to or a roll to see it.
Is there a particular star constellation kind of highest in the sky over this point? Does it seem star related, or is it just a beacon of light that's similar in kind of intensity?
Roll a survival check, I would say. Okay. Survival 23. You sort of look up at a grouping of stars. You're not able to sort of like trace what star is giving light, but it seems like there are a group of them that shine a little bit more brightly in the sky at the moment. You quickly reference your star map and don't recognize it. You don't see anything familiar from it.
I kind of make note of it on the star map of like the area of the sky it's in, just to look at more closely later.
Okay. But presumably Clax and Drada go to sleep, and then if Flint and Mouse want to roll a perception check. Hey.
That's a decent roll for a change.
I will allow you guys to, of course, talk. No danger comes on in the night. I would say it's sort of... You can decide what to do with this information, Mouse, as you see fit, but with a 27, I think you... I assume your curiosity is piqued and you're just sort of paying extra attention up there. And just sort of like after the first hour of your watch, as you guys are sort of starting your conversations for the night, you're noticing that it's starting to get a little dimmer. Whatever effect is being shined down upon, or wherever this light is coming from, it seems to be kind of like maybe activated in the night, or it sort of is most potent in the night. And just with a natural 20, I would say you're worried that in the daytime you're not quite sure you'll be able to recreate the information you have to be tremendously helpful, other than this column that Drada's pointed at.
I kind of talk through that with Flint.
Do you want to go check it out?
We're supposed to be watching, and it feels like a risky choice.
It's fine. Everything seems safe around here. It's been quiet. Like the storm's in the distance. We're on a cliff. What's gonna come up here? Like a billy goat? It's fine.
I think I need to take some time to message Arcana, and I also can't see very well in the dark, so I would probably need to use some wild shape to help me get up there. I think I'd rather message first.
Can you? Well, maybe
You do
you
have
can just
polymorph too, I will say.
I mean, that's up to you, I guess. But I'm all for trying to investigate.
How about message first, and then we'll try to go up there. It'll only take me a minute. Do you want to stay close by?
Do you not want me to?
I mean, I don't know. I spread out my star map and just like let Flit do what he's gonna do.
Flint's pretty interested in that pillar. He might not like go far, but like just creep a little bit out of camp to just try and get a better look.
And then I will guide myself and enter my quill form.
Okay. Just want to start with Flint. Like, just sort of, if you could be more specific about what Flint is doing as Mouse sits down to focus on her work.
I think Flint would maybe just go start with 10 yards, maybe creep out to, 50 yards or something, just slowly kind of working his way out of camp. Trying to just get a little closer to this, see if he can get any more details, but like not going far enough that, he can't quickly get back to me.
I mean, you're able to get to where Drada was when he first spotted the column above. But the problem is that it's then a sheer climb up to get to it. So there's no real, like without going into uncharted territory, it's hard to really map out what the path will be to get up there unless you have some creative means of getting up there.
I'll hold off and wait for Mouse then. I'll head back to camp and...
Okay. Mouse. Do you tell me who you're messaging?
I'm messaging Arcana.
Oh boy. You go through your sort of ritual, so to speak, of your quill form, and everything behaves as sort of expected. Your vision changes, and that's uncommon. Normally, this is a conversation that sort of takes place entirely within your head, but you open your eyes and you find yourself among a starscape. One moment. There is just sort of you find yourself kind of floating among the stars in a way that you haven't really been close to before. You're out amongst these bright lights, and what do you do?
Oh boy. Mouse is distracted. to be kind of held in this starscape that she spent so much time kind of studying and trying to feel and identify with, and to just kind of be surrounded by it takes her aback for a moment. It feels a little like the goal. And then she'll remember what she's doing. And she'll say, I assume you can hear me.
You sort of realize quickly that you're not in the same message space as normal, and it's sort of appearing right next to you, kind of looking in the same direction that you're looking, and a voice that says, "It's quite magnificent out here, isn't it?" A sort of like ominous but almost calm-ish voice of the man you met before.
If you can study this, why do you need Sparadin?
There's give me an insight check. A 19 is actually not good enough for this person. He is a pretty expressionless figure, and I think I described him the first time you ever met him as like a Dr. Manhattan sort of looking character, if you've watched The Watchmen, and sort of like talks in a very monotone way, and sort of seems calm and maybe thoughtful, but also kind of distant at the same time. And so it takes a few seconds for him to respond, and he says, I suppose I didn't have access before I met somebody like you. Perhaps Sparadin doesn't have what I need, but perhaps it has something left to uncover.
There's nothing there that I can't give you. Leave Sparadin. Tell me where to be, and I can come meet you as soon as I can. I'll tell you everything I know. Just leave the island. If research is your goal, I can be your subject.
He stops from sort of looking along the starscape and looks towards you and says, forgive me, but I understand that you are not necessarily an expert yourself. Shouldn't you want my help? Shouldn't I help you to understand the stars, perhaps? Perhaps there's insight that I can glean that I could share with you and your people.
My people are great as they are. And I would love to study this more with you. Just please leave the island.
He looks back towards this like center mass, this like among the stars, there's this like cosmic vortex almost in the middle of this landscape, which you are far, far from. This is not a flat plane. You're just sort of drifting among, and this is like far away that you see. And he says, I fear that inaction could be dangerous. And you sort of see the middle starts to change and become like a black sphere as you start to see a vision of stars being sucked up into this like black hole. And says, and he sort of turns to you and says, your people may not be as safe as you think they are. And then you wake up from your vision. You also don't expend a quill slot in this moment. You still have both of your starry forms.
Mouse just sits for like a solid 10 minutes, just staring at the sky, just trying to process and think what this means for her, what this could mean for her people, before doing anything else.
Okay. How about we take a 5-minute break, and then we'll finish this watch with any thoughts that you have.
Sounds good.
Okay. We'll be right back.
As Mouse comes back to her brain and wraps her head around things for a minute, I'm going to go ahead and quill form again to Olive.
Okay. Roll me percentile, if you don't mind.
All right.
Okay. Similar to before, you managed to make a connection through this turbulence or interference of the storm.
I'll say, Olive, I can't convince Arcana to leave, but he thinks there's something wrong with the stars. Have you noticed any changes in the sky?
There's a normal length pause as you imagine she's considering her answer, and she responds to say, I have not noticed anything particularly different myself, and I don't really know. I don't know that I can be terribly helpful anymore. She just has like the message ends.
Okay, I quill form again. It's like, what do you mean you can't be helpful anymore? You've been my guide. You know the stars.
You do not exhaust a use of your quill form, but you feel like the message is rejected. Like actively rejected. Roll me an insight check. Just sort of based on what you heard from her. With advantage, I would say, because it's because you know her pretty well. Hey,
Yeah, I do.
you know her very, very well. It was an expression of like weariness, or kind of like a little bit solemn, and the impression you get is that she's not feeling well enough to speak right now, or that she doesn't feel as connected as she once did. It's nothing that I think she would, like, you would probably imagine, it's nothing that she would want Mouse to take personal. It's just sort of like, maybe she's doing some processing of her own. Maybe she's sort of like, you've been contacting her a lot recently. There's a lot that she's trying to figure out in the moment, and you know, do with that what you will. But it's on a nat 20, I would say either something is wrong, or she doesn't know how to help you and kind of like needs her own time to figure things out.
Just to make sure I understood, my quill form didn't take when I talked to Arcana, or the second time I talked to...
Yes,
so
correct.
I still have one available wild shape.
Technically, yes.
Cool. I'm going to turn to Flint and say, okay, Flint, let's go. And become a panther.
Okay. Everything cool on your island?
I'm a panther.
Rar.
You're a panther?
Well, yeah, she doesn't say I'm a panther. She is just a panther.
Okay. I would have went with the wolf spider, but I hadn't told you there's a cliff yet.
Oh, I would have, looking at this now, I would have picked something with dark vision, and I just assumed that panthers had it, and they don't. And I would know that.
Yes, you would know that. That's fair.
So I will, in fact, go with the giant wolf spider.
Okay. Easy enough. What's the plan? You're about an hour and a half into your watch right now. You know that it's not terribly far away, but you know that you have another couple hours until the next watch.
Let's go this way. I'll lead the way at a decently quick pace to the cliff. So it's up there. I could use a spell to try and get up there, but maybe if you just like take this rope and like go up there, I can just try and climb. And I'll start trying to tie a rope to a giant wolf spider.
It's not terribly hard to do. The challenge will be how the wolf spider secures it against anything other than its appendages. But,
well, how big is a giant wolf spider? Like, is it big enough that I could ride it?
Is it a large creature? Or is it medium?
Medium.
Then I would say, I'm going to say only no, because I don't A, want to set that precedent, and B, because your armor's heavy.
That's fair. Then yeah, try and, I don't know, go up there. If you can't get me up there, you're the main one that needs to look at it anyways. Remember, you have to come back down.
I will attempt to take the rope with me and start climbing up.
Okay. How long is your rope, Flint? Because I described this as being 150 feet up.
Oh. I probably only have 50 feet of rope then.
Okay.
So do I, but that's still only 100 feet of rope.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't want to spend a spell slot.
But do you?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Mouse will pantomime, crossing her front 2 of 8 arms and say, try to communicate. I've got this, I'll be right back.
Just like a don't. Like, don't bother.
Don't follow. I got it.
Right here.
I go for a thumbs up and realize I don't have thumbs.
Fair enough. And you take off, presumably without any rope at this point.
We will wait here and listen intently and try to look around and see if I spot any other way up. But
no, in this,
yeah,
you would need some time to investigate for a way up. Well, with your spider, I assume spiders have spider climb, and you just sort of like trundle up the cliff, and eventually, after a couple hundred feet, you reach a kind of like a small landing. It seems like it's a pretty sheer cliff up, and then a small landing, and then it goes up again. But on this small landing, you sort of are able to see the column sort of shape that Drada pointed out. You look at it a little bit more intently, and especially sort of in the light of the stars that are sort of raining down upon the spot that you're on. Go ahead and roll me a perception check with advantage. Using, I guess, because this is a wild shape, you can use your perception. Okay. 13 is not bad because the light is sort of pointing for you. The challenge is kind of being able to define what it is, and you sort of like rear up in a way so as to not block the light of the stars. And this column, it seems like it's almost part of a fallen structure of some kind. You look up with your dark vision, and you don't see any. With a 13, you don't really see anything telling above you, but the light isn't shining above you anyway. It's shining kind of near your feet, and so whether there's a building up there or not, who knows? But it seems like as this column fell, that there are parts of some ruined structure that maybe like perhaps bounced off the cliffside and maybe fell into the water below you, or something along those lines. And you see a couple like stones, broken stones that are wedged into this landing that you're standing on. And there's a ray of light that's shining down on one of these stones. With the perception of 13, there's nothing significant about it at this moment. There's no like carvings or signs on it. It's broken on one side, and it's sort of like a stone tablet that is maybe 2 feet across, 2 feet across, 1 foot wide, and maybe like 6 inches thick. Something that's probably it's pretty heavy, probably difficult for a spider to kind of dig up, but it is a single piece of stone that seems to be getting this light.
Having had a look around and seeing all that I could see, I would head back towards Flint.
Okay.
What'd you find? For some reason, expecting that I could talk to a giant spider.
I will drop form and share what you just shared. That there's this slab that's taking the kind of brunt of the light. It looks like a structure was dropped from above. There's this pillar.
Maybe tomorrow, like now that we know what we're looking for, like once the group is ready, we can go dig it up or something.
I'm not sure if it's significant. I didn't see any caves as I was.
I don't think you looked for it in the mind state you were in, but also you didn't roll high enough.
That's a very good point. I'm distracted. But
should we head back to camp?
Everybody's dead. No, I'm just kidding. They're fine. I'm going to move on to the third watch just to keep things going, because you guys had a pretty long watch. Aesop and Murda.
Alrighty, is it perception?
It is.
Is it disadvantaged because we're...
It's normal.
Oh, okay. Great.
Okay.
Pretty good.
You do, just sort of for weather's sake, the thunderstorms seem to have subsided, and it's just sort of turned into like a steady rainfall.
Like a drizzle or a rainfall, yeah.
Okay. It's a steady rainfall. It's not a storm, but it's uncomfortable.
Okay.
But it's not loud, I guess. Anyway.
Right. I got worried when you got hit by that elemental. I know you don't need protection, but you're also mom. I'm happy that you're here, but I'm gonna be constantly worrying about you, and I understand vice versa. Just know that I got your back, and if you get hurt, I can heal you.
That's certainly a good thing to have. And yes, as you said, vice versa. You certainly can't expect me to not worry about you when you're here. It's just impossible. It doesn't matter how capable either of us are. But I will say, you know, I don't want to be disrespectful to you or your friends, but like, just overhearing some of the things you guys are talking about, things happening back home, etc., etc. You know, if you guys can get on the first ship back, like, I am happy to stay here and help with finding your father. We're a very capable bunch, as you know. If anybody can find him, I'm sure Eridarin can. I know that you want to help, and it is good to see you, but it's a dangerous place, and Hardak runs a tight ship, and if he's not willing to sort of induct you all into his plans, I worry that you're not going to be as protected as you could be. Right. Whenever they figure out whatever's going on here, they're going to send in the soldiers, and it's going to be hard for. There's very few situations where a small strike team kind of does the job that we do at the end of a mission. We've fought. She gets into a story she says something that just reminds you of stories you've heard as a child, like the more heroic moments of the recovery squad, where in order to settle a particular conflict, like they have an army of 20 minotaurs fighting like a titan or something. Right. Like, probably blown up a little bit for the sake of the story, but nonetheless the sort of idea that it's like there's a time and place for a surgical strike team to go in and destroy something, and then there's times for them to just bring the parade and stomp whatever it is out. And if you're not part of that parade, it's kind of hard to protect you, is what she's hinting at.
Do you think Hardak will do that? Doesn't seem like that's really part of the plan right now.
I mean, if we discover something useful, or if they find Tirok and your father finds something useful, and they have an actual direction to go, I imagine that's what they would be going towards. This doesn't feel like a diplomatic mission.
No, definitely not.
So I think it's likely that that's the path we would take, especially if your father is leading the charge, so to speak.
Right. And I think I'm on both sides, right? Like, I hear we're here and we're here to help out as much as we can. We, of course, didn't know what we were getting ourselves into, and I think we dropped in literally into such a more dangerous situation than we realized. But I think we're here to see the mission out, but now kind of understanding what's like only a tiny bit of what Mouse has said about what's happening back in their homeland, I worry that we're missing out on fixing or tending to other issues. Mouse just kind of being a part of that now with the new information that's coming in. And I already feel guilty that we're here, but I feel like the longer we stay, the more guilty I'm going to feel.
I think your friends seem happy enough to join you for all this. I don't think there's a reason to feel guilty. They're all adults. They make their own decisions. But But I would say the nature of this is just something else to think about. But all this talk about flying a ship home is also to protect the apprentices. They, should something happen out here, we want to get them to safety. And she sort of like looks at you trying to persuade you. I'd say you don't have to roll an insight to know she's trying to persuade you.
Yeah.
But she looks at you and says, and they could probably use an escort.
That's true. I understand. I don't think it's a me decision, though, on whether or not we stay or we leave with that ship. But I hope that the time that we're out here together, that I can take care of myself. Sometimes I make a wrong call or a judgment, but I think overall I've been doing pretty well for myself. And I hope everyone in the group would agree. But yeah.
I'm going to roll something for her really quick. Yeah, that's good enough. I don't understand your friend's full capabilities, but it sounds like your friend Mouse was talking to people off of the island last night.
Mm-hmm.
From what I was overhearing. And so, I mean, if you want her to check in with me now and then, I'll keep you posted on what I know. Like if you were to leave, at least maybe through her we can stay in touch.
Correct me if I'm wrong, DM. I feel like I did that once on the main island and it didn't go through, or I could be just blowing, not even thinking of the right thing.
It for Mouse to be able to do that requires her to have met somebody.
I see.
So
okay.
I think you asked that question, but it wasn't possible.
Got it. Yeah, that's possible. I'm pretty sure she just needed to meet you and kind of understand what you looked like to get that image in her head. So that is a way moving forward if we do decide to leave and tend to other concerns in the world. But there never seems to be a break, is there, in all this?
She kind of like looks solemnly and says, it's hard to hang it up completely when there's so few of us in such a great need. I try my best and I'm more successful at it than some. She looks
yeah,
gives you the look. But
I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty upset to find out when I got to Continents that you and Dad were gone. But being out here and seeing what's at stake, these worldly issues that have an impact on not just us as a squad, but to the entirety of Ventus, I am understanding. I understand.
I would never say this in front of your father, but or in front of anybody else in the squad. But I fear that the issue is exacerbated a little bit by Hardak and his leadership style. We used to have many more unhindered, and not many more, but suffice to say, could really use some help with recruitment. It would make it so situations like this, it's a little less stuck. Like there's a little bit more flexibility on who goes where.
Right.
So, you know, she kind of is venting about it a
Yeah.
little bit. And the impression you get is like,
It's kind of been building up in her head a little bit.
yeah. And it's also like it's an unfortunate situation. It's hard to actually retire when there is somebody has to. There's a need for warm bodies, you know.
Yeah. The Minotaur community is only so large.
But morning comes, unless there's anything else. You all wake up. The weather is sort of still in this rainy state. At this point, you're just kind of used to it. It's not pleasant, but it's not disruptive to you as far as your overland travel is concerned.
Sorry, Kevin, I didn't write it down. Am I re-rolling wheel woe every day, even though they don't reset, or just keeping wheel until our next call run?
You can. It's. I didn't think about it, so I think the charges would reset on a long rest, but you could roll it every day if you'd like.
Hey, Mouse, did you end up finding anything out about? Like, oh yeah, there's like ruins or something above us. They look cool. Yeah, any updates on that? Like, is it star stuff? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, I checked it out. There's a tablet that was kind of shown in this light. I think we can probably go up there. I had to be a spider, so I couldn't like carry anything back with me. And I think maybe I was a little distracted, and I think it could use some additional investigation if we have time. But there wasn't anything like immediately, hey, we have to attend to this right now, but also probably more interesting things that I was unable to learn.
When you say tablet, what do you mean by tablet? And by the way, DM, we could take a short rest?
Yes, please feel free.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was about 2 feet by 1 foot by about 6 inches, made of stone. It all certainly looked created or crafted. It didn't look natural. There were smooth edges to things.
I'm gonna let two people that aren't Mouse roll an insight check on Mouse.
I asked the question.
Okay.
Ooh.
I'm projecting a bit, Millie, so correct me if this is wrong, but I feel like Mouse's attentiveness and interest in this tablet is sort of like, I don't want to say giddy, but it's very like, so there's something on her mind. There's something on her mind, and she seems to be very interested in this and all this star stuff. Like, it's, you as players kind of know more information, but she's just acting a little bit more energetically about this at the moment, and maybe a little stressed. I'm not sure.
Oh, okay. Cool. So, okay, interesting. Yeah. Given that there's some energy behind it, I was like, oh shit. Okay, I guess we need to go to that. Nothing more to press about there. If I have some rope, I could set up some ropes pretty easy for us to climb to it if we were interested. I would just need to borrow some rope, but
I mean, I've got 50 feet.
I've got about 40 I can contribute.
I also have 50 feet of rope.
None.
great. I will happily take all of the rope I can get. I don't think I need classes 40, but we'll take it just in case.
I think we're up to 140, but 50, 50, and 40.
I also have 50 feet of rope.
Oh, okay, got it.
There's a little
I
extra
also-
tie off.
I mean, if we want to make that a first stop, but also, I mean, if there's a bit of a cliff to get to it, so I'd imagine it gives a decent view if we're still on the lookout for other things.
True, it would give us a good perspective on finding a cave.
Yeah, I'm more than happy to run up ahead and get some ropes and stuff set up. Just give me a little bit of time.
Okay. To expedite things a little bit, because I think you tie a bunch of ropes together, and then how do you approach this?
I'm sure Rhoda loves a climbing moment. And is very good at a climbing moment. But I think, yeah, he's approaching and trying to find some way outside of the eye line of the party to scramble up the cliff face. And essentially, if I remember correctly, there's like kind of a halfway. There's like a ledge that's part of the way up, and then like you fully go all the way to the top, and there's the actual pillar or tablet and the like. So I think like at wherever there are breaks, Strata would go to probably the easiest place for the party to access them, and then lay lengths of rope, and secure them to whatever he can, be it tying some good knots on some large boulders or things that are stable and secure, that would not have risk of people falling down a cliff face.
Mm-hmm. Trotta trottles off with a bunch of rope and sort of walks around the cliff face outside of like everybody's view.
I don't know that Flint's like chasing him down, but I think like Flint specifically prepped like Featherfall, knowing we were going to be climbing this cliff, and would be trying to be somewhere where he can see Drata in case he falls and needs saving or something.
Okay. Drata, roll me a perception check. Okay. I mean, as you're like looking up the cliff face, sort of like doing mental math on how you're going to do this, you just sort of see Flint like around the corner, like joining you in this moment.
Hi.
Hey.
Yeah, Drata is. Yeah, like definitely, like again, scrambling. Like hands are going up the cliff wall, but does not seem to be in any sort of precarious situation. In fact, it seems to be quite an easy scramble up the cliff face for him.
Yeah, I'll be transparent and say, as a DM, I'm not requiring Drata to roll anything. Flint, you sort of just see Drata very comfortably scaling this pretty sheer cliff and laying down like 50 feet of rope here, 50 feet of rope there, until you just sort of see him cresting the top, and you hear the sounds of it being tied up against something.
Yeah, if not that you can see a thumbs up from 150 feet above you, but a nice thumbs up is thrown over the cliff.
Yeah, 150 feet's not that far. You could probably see a thumbs up from that distance.
It's daytime.
All right, well, easy enough. I was better at climbing than I thought.
Drata, you're up there and you see the sort of stone, just, a stone of a similar size and description to what Mouse offered. There's a few smaller pieces of debris almost of whatever this construction was. But there's only one that really sort of makes sense for what she's sort of indicating. Is anybody sort of like, as I imagine Flint alerts the party that the rope is set up, is anybody trying to go up to help with digging this thing up?
I mean, I think we're all trying to get up there. I think the intent was that kind of led us further up the mountain.
Sure. It's a little bit of a landing when Mouse was up there initially, but she didn't really try to map out what the next step would be necessarily. So it could be that there's still more climbing to be done from there. But
Did you see any caves up there?
Roll a perception check.
I'm up there.
Let's find out.
Hey.
I see everything.
Oh, sheesh.
As a matter of fact, you do.
Exciting.
And there, I would say with a natural 20, you sort of like squint your eyes to try to hone in on the details of it. And you see almost like the mouth of the cave has stalactites and stalagmites that are icy at the mouth of it. It almost creates like jagged teeth at the front of it. Like it's not a creature, you know, but it has that like it's almost like a mouse in the mountain that's with icy teeth. This is from your perspective. It is not up here at the landing.
Oh.
You imagine you have to it's sort of like perpendicular to it. You're not going to follow the river anymore. You're going to go up a different path up the same mountain.
But we're on the right mountain.
You're on the right mountain. At least for this cave. You don't know what's in it, but
Is it positioned in such a way that it makes sense for us to all climb up this cliff face?
No.
Okay. Then we won't bother. We'll just let Drada dig it up.
Thanks. I don't think I'm. Yeah, I guess upon seeing it, I would start to shimmy down the rope that I had laid to try to communicate this info. I guess because I can't communicate to anyone down there, not to be like, don't come up, like I figured it out. But I guess step one would be, I try to lift or try to unearth this tablet. And then step two is starting to shimmy down and be like, update, we found ourselves the A cave, not the cave, A cave.
Is icy?
Yes, but step one, is this tablet unearthing?
so-
Is that a more than one person job?
so you were doing things in a strange order, but
Oh.
Yeah.
like as you're sort of trying to dust it off, it seems like it's sort of there's two challenges in front of you. One is sort of like excavating it, because it's sort of like the size that Mouse was able to determine is sort of a guesstimate, but it seems to be buried slightly under the ground. So first step is to sort of excavate it, and ideally for that, like you could spend a full day doing it very slowly, or you could find a way to do it more efficiently. And then the step two is like it. I say this kindly, but is Drada strong enough to carry it down?
Absolutely the fuck not.
So because you just sort of look at it and you're like, I can probably dig that up a little bit, but then what?
Okay.
Does it? You said it's a foot, by like 6 inches.
It's 6 inches thick,
Yeah.
and then it's like 2 feet by 1 feet is I think what I said.
Okay, so the 1 foot and the like 6 inches or whatever, though, that's the main dimension we would need to overcome to like fit in the bag of holding. The 2 feet long, like.
I think without thinking about it too hard, I think it would fit in the bag of holding without issue.
Yeah, I can let Drada come down and grab that. Since apparently climbing this cliff is no big deal, or just tie it to the rope or something. I can pull it up, but yeah, I don't know how long it's going to take us to excavate. That's maybe the tricky part.
It's also sort of like excavating without damaging it. In theory, you are talking about a stone, and like you can't just sort of cast the shatter spell on the ground and destroy everything.
Yeah, I think Drada would, now that ropes are set, start to like repel himself back down to communicate the information, just because he doesn't want to risk shouting in a space where maybe drawing more attention isn't the wisest. So not the most efficient way, but the quieter way. And I think, yeah, after X amount of time it takes to get back to the ground, would regather with party and say, okay, update. So we sure can spend a while trying to get that lovely stone tablet that was discovered out of the ground and bag of holding it or look into it further. That's an option. Another option. I found a cave that has ice. It's further up the mountain.
Okay.
It does not exactly make sense to go up to the tablet and then go up further to the mountain. There are probably more efficient ways of just getting to the cave.
Mhm.
How do we want to move forward?
I think I'll look at Mouse. Mouse, do you want us to excavate this tablet for you? Do you think it's something that could be useful or helpful for you?
I think that's a fair question. Do I think it would be useful or helpful for me, or just something that's curious to the party understanding this island?
I will say it's like our second session. There was a tablet of some kind that you found at the edge of the island next to Vind that had some like recesses of maybe gems that had been pried off or something, and some stars that you didn't recognize. It's like one of the first random events you guys rolled. And I think like you don't know that it doesn't necessarily have the same size and shape of that tablet, but I think this would pique Mouse's curiosity in the same way, is that the starlight was attracted to this, and as somebody who knows that there's a little bit that there's like sort of stars that are unfamiliar to Sparrowden, that that you would be very, very curious about whatever those stars chose to illuminate.
That was also right before we fought the water elemental. I mean, if we can get the tablet, I'd be very interested in it, but I also don't want to wipe everybody out if we don't have to. I do have the ability to polymorph someone for an hour again, but getting that back won't happen until we're back somewhere safe. So,
you have any spells that are like a tier down from that will come back that would be helpful for getting somebody up there? Or
You're having this conversation over breakfast too, I think. So I think you could prepare with that in mind if you wanted to.
I can also just try and climb the rope and see how it goes, because I'm guessing Flint's going to be the best at archaeology of anybody here. Or excavating.
Yeah, roll a good archaeology check.
I am not proficient in archaeology, but got all kinds of tool sets. So
Yeah, maybe just going up there and reading what you can. This part of the stone tablet that's like exposed. Seeing if it says anything useful, and then we can decide from there.
unless it's written in Common or Gnomish, it's not gonna make sense to me.
Yeah, when I was up there, like, could I read it? Or
there was nothing to read on the face that you could see.
the face. Gotcha. Cool. I mean, yeah, I'm probably not the most helpful at lurching this thing into a bag, but as far as it like easy for me to get up there, easy for me to do some like maybe detail work and trying to chip this out of there, but I don't know, maybe it won't take all day.
Yeah, but I don't think it would hurt to try.
And if we're like a little rough with it, but not too bad, I can mend it. Like,
That's an easy spell that you could do again, right?
yeah, I can mending all day long.
Okay.
Yeah, mending has its limitations for sure. It's like
Yeah, like
it's like if you can super glue it together, then you can mend it. But like,
yeah,
not much beyond that.
if we turn it to dust, it's a problem. But if we crack it, probably okay.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything at 3rd level or lower that makes sense to me to be helpful in this situation.
Well, I'm just gonna try and climb the rope and just see if I can just get up there the old-fashioned way.
I'll guide you.
I'll spot you.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say this: wearing heavy armor, climbing 150 feet up, with some ropes, but no like. If you lose your footing, you fall 150 foot. You like the ropes aren't necessarily secured in a way like with carabiners or like in a way that'll catch your fall.
I have pitons. I don't know
Pittance.
how you say that.
That's right. Okay, fine.
Those spikes with an eye that I can loop rope.
All right, fine. You've
I
created
have pitons as well. Pitons?
pitons, whatever they're called. We had this conversation last time.
Yeah.
Same.
I mean, you can athletics roll this up, Flint, if you'd like.
I
guess
how long does it take me to take my armor off?
It's like 10 minutes.
10 minutes? I mean, I shouldn't need it while I'm up there. I'll take my armor off quick. That's easy.
I can be
Don't let that be your last words.
It's
Please.
fine. I do have prepared today Featherfall, Levitate, and Spider Climb. I just
You guys are very, very, very conservative with your spells. You could have been up there. You could have been up there already.
I mean, I have very few spell slots, so
Okay.
I'm gonna try just without anything to start.
Okay. Roll athletics. It's going to be okay. I wanted to finish my sentence for the result. I was going to say it's going to be 2 legs of rolls for you to get all the way up, because it is pretty far up. So you start to climb and start to feel pretty comfortable. You look down and realize, like, all right, pretty high up now. So fucking up now would be trepidatious.
I'm watching him carefully.
It'll be fine.
If you want to roll again.
I have Featherfall if I need it.
All right.
Yeah.
You guys have never seen Flint sweat in this way, not because of stress, but just in the physical workout sense. But nonetheless, little nimble Flint manages to work his way up, and I do want to expedite this a little bit. So just sort of like as you start to inspect the stone tablet, what is your approach?
I mean, I think I'd break out my tinker's tools and smith's tools and some brushes and whatever and try and just like get a sense for how much it's buried and, you know, how much dirt I really need to move and try to work quickly. Because I don't want to spend all day with this and just start, you know, trying to not, you know, ding it up as much as I can, but shoveling the dirt pretty quick and you know.
Okay. So it's, yeah. So first thing we're going to do is just a sort of general intelligence check. This is your ability to understand how hard it's wedged in there, and like to try to
Alright.
map out your plan to give a few quick shunts of your chisel and get this out of there.
Hang on. Before I start this, let me double check how my Flash of Genius works. Do I need to declare this before the roll or after, or 30 feet makes ability check or saving throw? You can use your reaction to add +4 to the roll. Doesn't really say whether I choose after or not. It's
I mean,
just,
yeah, you can use it as part of your roll, I would say.
can I see the result first, or am I using this as part of the roll?
I would say you can see the result first. Sure.
All right.
It's a reaction, so.
Fair. Okay, we'll just leave that be. Just go with that.
You look at it and you think that a couple well-placed strikes should, like, you sort of measure the depth of it. You see that it's, you know, it's not part of the mountain, so all you really needed to do is be able to dislodge it from the rock of the mountain, and then be able to lift it in some way. So you're sort of like looking for key spots that perhaps are like little hooks in the rock that are holding it in place, and you sort of lay out your plan to make a few well-placed strikes and hopefully just sort of like unearth it, so to speak. Go ahead and roll. This would be, I guess, just we'll just say your Tinker's tools, with advantage because you did succeed in that check.
All right. I don't think I have a good way to make a Tinker's tool check.
Just do,
but
yeah, if you click if you mouse over inventory on like the little pop-out menu, click on Tinker's tool.
I should have expertise in this.
It added +6.
+6 would be.
Said expertise in it.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, at the very bottom it says dexterity expertise.
Cool.
Yeah, which is double proficiency. There you go. So with advantage is 24.
Yeah, I didn't click the advantage thing. I just rolled it twice.
No, it's fine.
Yeah.
So you all hear, I think, like from below, as you're just asking yourself, like, I wonder how long this is going to take. You hear like 4 thuds, like 4 like strikes of a mallet on metal, and you're just sort of like getting ready for a sit before you hear Flint from above. You're done, Flint. You probably shout like, "Got it!"
Yeah. Sorry, did you imply that this tablet is metal?
No, it's stone.
Okay. Cool. I will work on getting that into my bag of holding, and then
it's a little awkward, but after dislodging it, you just sort of push it over, and then push it in. Brief glance at it before putting it into the bag of holding. You don't see any writing on the other side either.
No.
You do see like very soft indentations. Like there's some kind of like pattern on it, but there's no like writing.
Okay. Well, I'll pack it up anyways and start working my way back down.
Okay. Easy enough. Easier to get down than up, so you're fine.
I follow, taking down rope as I go. How exciting.
Everybody gets their rope back. Yeah.
Oh, how fun.
Murda sort of says, "Well, should we set out then?"
that we should.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. You all can walk and talk if there's anything you want to follow up on after that, but following Drada's just sort of direction with the natural 20 you got earlier from above, I think you've already mapped a relatively safe path from where you stood at the vantage point. You think it'll probably take you another 4 hours to sort of wind up the mountain in a safe way, but so you have a little bit of time to talk, but you're pretty confident that you're heading in the right direction. And as you start to get closer, you feel the temperature shift. While it is still raining outside, it's never really been a cold rain as much as it's been like a humid, like gross rain. But as you're sort of getting closer to this cave and as it comes into view, now it's sort of like standing in front of an open freezer. As it sort of comes into view and you see those icicles that both cover the lip of the cave as well as the sort of stalagmites of ice from the bottom. You guys, I think, get maybe 20 feet away as you start to feel this temperature shift, and give me whoever's sort of in front, which is at least Drada, but one other. Go ahead and give me I'd say either nature, survival, or perception check.
I'm thinking I would, since Drada and I both know Primordial and trying to speak to this thing whenever and wherever it comes out. So, what were the 3 options again? I'm sorry.
Nature, survival, or perception.
Nature, survival. I'm gonna do perception.
Okay.
I did it twice.
I'll take the first one. Yeah,
and it's the same number.
Same one. Okay.
Great.
Drada, you're just sort of like, I would say, like a little mystified. You have, history with mountains, so to speak, but something about this is a little bit more like haunting or different, and you're not really quite sure how to place it. Aesop, in that same way, except I've had mouse up for initiative this whole time. That's weird. In that same way, you are a little struck by it. One of the details that you pick out is that the ice, and the reason that this ice is forming as icicles at the very edge seems to be that the water of the rain is constantly melting anything that is allowing the ice to expand outside of the cave. So anywhere where the rain is hitting, no ice is forming. And so the mouth of this cave is almost like clogged up in a way with these icicles that are not able to expand outwards. That's what I would give you with a 14.
I'll look at Drada and say, it seems like the rain, like the areas where the rain touched the ice, it's almost like it's melting away the ice, or it's like a barrier. So this thing can't expand. And I don't know if it can hear us, but that might be a persuasion tool in our conversation with it.
Again, Drada's kind of mystified and kind of out of it, but I mean, your guess is as good as mine.
Okay.
You know it wants to take up all the space it can, so sure.
I'll just loosely say with Drada's dark vision, because even with a low perception, I'll just give you a little bit, is that you can see a little further into the cave, like past the icicles, and it seems to be relatively expansive in there. The icicles are blocking enough where you can't see any detail, but you know that the cave is pretty deep.
Yeah, I mean, if we head inside, get ready for perhaps an extended little trek underground, friends.
If I remember correctly, Hardak did mention that the previous team that was here couldn't even get inside because they were blown out. Am I correct on that statement, DM?
Loosely.
Okay. Drada, do you want to help me in this conversation, or at least be upfront with me? Okay.
I mean, I'm more than happy to help say hello.
Okay. How far we are from the cave entrance?
I think you're about 20 feet right now.
Can't hear anything. Nothing shifting, moving.
No, not with your previous perception check.
Okay. I'm gonna look back at the group, kind of give a thumbs up, and I'm gonna walk forward slowly, and kind of say, "Hello."
Roll me a Constitution saving throw.
Awesome.
Dang it! I only got one word out. Okay, not my strongest suit. Ooh, okay, fair.
You're going to suffer just 5 cold damage as a stiff wind sort of like buffets you from the inside. The wind, which carries with it a sort of voice. Now, Primordial as a language covers 4 dialects, like earth, water, fire, and ice. Earth, water, fire, and air. You've never really spoken to anything that's like ice before. It's like water sort of speaks in tidal waves and crashing waves and things like that. But ice is sort of like of earth as well. So go and roll me an intelligence check as you're sort of trying to piece together like the sound of breaking ice that is like crumbling within.
Can I also make this check? Is someone also hearing this?
I'd say Drada could as well, yes. Aesop, you're, I think, just momentarily...
getting off the ground.
Yeah. You didn't fall over or anything, but it's just sort of like you're covering your face and like feeling a little bit of that pain come through. But Drada, with a little bit of distance, you tune your ear in, and it's a shout. You don't get any words, but with an 11, but it's a shout of pain. Like it is in pain.
I would communicate that to Aesop, and then, hey, Aesop, try maybe backing up out of sight of the cave,
Okay.
And then I would just kind of shout out in a way that could maybe echo down the cave, but trying not to just place myself in the line of fire of a freezing blast of air, just like trying to communicate back in this tongue that I'm probably not super familiar with, like, just, we want to help. Like, basic, simple words that would try to get through the translation.
Roll me a persuasion check.
I was about to say, can I aid in that? Hearing what the kind of the path that Drada's taking with their conversation, and add in just a small statement. We can stop the rain.
Sure. If you want to roll with advantage, Drada.
Thank you.
Hey.
Thank you, Ada.
You feel that gust of wind, of cold air, come again. A little bit weaker this time. I will say, you get the impression that where you're standing, even now, backing up a bit, is probably not safe. It could have hit you if it wanted to, but you feel that sort of now it's almost like the sound of like a little bit of a whine that comes through, and the only real reaction you get is you see the stalactites and stalagmites of the cave entrance start to break apart and create a larger opening.
I'll look at Drada. Something that we said worked.
I believe we have an invitation in.
I'll kind of signal everyone to move forward. Or should it just be us two?
No, I don't.
Your mom says,
I don't want to do this with just one other person.
Yeah, Murda says you're not going in there without me.
Yeah, no. I think before heading in, I would say again, like, just being like, we're coming in. Thank you for your grace. Hospitality is too many syllables.
Is it fair to say that everybody goes in?
Yeah, I'm right behind everybody, or right in front of everybody, wherever they want me.
Oh no, a new map.
Up until now, this seems like a good idea to me, and now it feels like we're just walking into the belly of
a beast.
Yeah. Nonetheless, Murda strikes up a torch.
Okay.
She can't see, and you can't see either.
Yeah,
Let's just be clear. You can't see.
Murda, can fire in ice elemental's domain might not. I say this meaning no offense. Maybe not the best vibe. Wax or someone else, light, please.
I was about to say, yeah, Mom. Everywhere you see ice, it is that being. So even the ground we're stepping on, we have to be very careful.
We can light up the little flashlights and the hammer and stuff.
Yeah, the axe.
Okay, yes, and then I can also do a light if that's not enough.
Fair.
Maybe not fire.
Yeah, Murda, sorry, I do not mean to be rude. Like, truly,
It's
like,
okay.
Drada in his most, like, desperately trying to please parent. Like, I do not mean to offend. But just, like,
Aesop, roll a history check. Okay. You don't know exactly what's on your mother's mind, but you know that one of her like greatest victories was the like Operation Firestruck in the volcano island, and you know that she has a comfort with fire, like an experience with fire, and so you sort of just read like, not that she's not a spellcaster or anything like that, but you do see she looks at her sword and just says, I'll do my best.
Can I will cast light on her sword then.
Okay.
And it lasts for an hour.
Cool. People have flashlights, I think. It does take a hand to have your flashlight. I think we sort of said we can't just sort of invent headbands for everything. So is anybody using one of their two hands to hold a flashlight?
I am holding a flashlight.
Glax is using his axe, which is 30 feet of light.
Okay. So I think with that in mind, I mean, Aesop, I know dark vision, you don't need anything, but Aesop, are you doing anything in particular, light-wise?
I put it on my mother's sword, so I'm assuming she's staying close, so I will have light.
Okay.
Well, you have one of those flashlights if you need it.
Yes, however, I'd rather have both my hands at the moment, in case I need to cast something.
Okay. Well, you guys step in with this now sort of magical light source, and you see just sort of a same representation of what you see here on the map. The floor is slick with ice, There are icicles everywhere. Those of you who have dark vision, especially Drada, can see a little bit further out than this light offers. And it seems to be a variety of like spikes and ice spikes and sort of like boulders that are covered in sort of frost. And it is cold in here. Not in this moment cold enough to cause you any damage, but you know that like this is like standing in a industrial freezer. Like you can't really be in here too long, or at least not overnight without getting sick. What would you like to do?
Do we want to ask where the hurt is, or do we just want to not risk getting blasted with icy air and just go?
I'm sorry, what was the first part of your question?
Do we want to ask where it's hurting? Or where we need to help?
I'm assuming it wants us. It's leading us somewhere. If it opened up its cave to us, it wants us to meet it somewhere. So I say we just follow along. For now.
We have a couple pathways to choose from.
Oh, that's right. I mean, we can start forward. I'm gonna stick next to Drada.
I suppose the general question is like, what is your strategy? Like, I'm not going to ask you to inch your token forward every second. But what are you looking out for? What are you trying to find?
Essentially, if there's a creature, humanoid being that makes its way out of the ice, if there's any pitfalls or traps, essentially, I want to. Well, okay, I feel like those are two different things. I will make sure that wherever we're heading, there's no trip falls, like slick, slide down, spikes. It's just like a safe path moving forward in front of us.
Okay.
With that in mind, I can look. I mean, eventually, yeah, we're looking for something, a humanoid form, but for the ice in the cave, how it is shifting, if it is getting denser, if there are more ice stalactites or stalagmites, any indication of moving deeper into this being.
Okay. I feel like that's an investigation from Aesop and a perception from Drada.
It's fair.
Okay. And I want to make sure that everybody's engaged in this, but is it safe to say you guys are following their lead for now, at least?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Murda is just sort of like, she, especially with the whole conversation about fire, she's just like, all right, I guess I'm in the back. You all inch forward a little bit. Aesop, you don't get the impression that like there's nothing that would be a traditional trap in this place.
Okay.
But I would say it probably occurs to you that just sort of based on what you heard from Captain Foundry that like this ice sort of is the creature in some way, and so you imagine that they have kind of control over the ground that you're walking on in some form or fashion. So while you don't sense any traps or anything like pitfalls, you sort of know that you are still vulnerable nonetheless.
Yeah.
Draw to remind me sort of what you were...
I was looking at with the intent of trying to go deeper and try to find the heart or the corporeal form of this being. Yeah, looking to see where, if there are any changes in the ice, like any stalactites, stalagmites getting more dense or shifting, or just, yeah, trying to suss out how we're moving forward and choosing all of these paths.
Okay. Roll me an insight check on top of all this. Okay. you feel with your earlier natural 20 persuasion that something you said made it pretty cooperative, and that is sort of affirmed by, like, you sort of turn down one way, you're like thinking about going down this way, and you see it start to close up. And that you almost feel like you're following a guide in a way. You've not really engaged in more active conversation than that, but you sort of are getting, you get the feeling that that there's a bit of control to this tour of this cave, and that by following the path that it's forging for you, that you seem to be heading in a comfortable direction.
I'm gonna look at Drada and kind of indicate that I'm gonna say something. We understand. Oh, wait, before I say that, Drada, what dialect did you use earlier that allowed us in?
I used some of the water elemental that I knew, but it makes sense. In a way, I kept the, I don't know, I guess the syntax very, the phrasing was simple and kind of resolute, if that makes sense.
Okay.
And static, more static than I would phrase normally.
I will say, just as a DM, thinking the challenge is understanding, it's less speaking. You think that it got the message.
I see.
It's like understanding what it says to you when it can only speak in its dialect.
Right.
Is difficult.
But it can understand more. Okay. Then I will say out loud, I'll try to follow Drada in the sense, and when I speak. We understand and hear that you are in a lot of pain. There are so many things wrong with this island, and there's a much larger group out there wanting to heal it. We understand that you're hiding and want to expand effortlessly. It's just what you do. It's what you need. Allow us to, or help us finish our quest here on this island to make everything right. That's all we came here to do.
What are Mouse, Flint, and Clax doing at the moment?
Clax is just observing, trying to make sure nothing's gonna, like, none of the walls are caving in, closing in on us or anything else along those lines. Just really kind of keeping an eye out, because it's beyond his realm.
Yeah.
Go ahead and roll me a perception check, Clax. With that, but Flint and Mouse tell me as well. Nope.
I think, I think Flint's kind of also just looking around, trying to see if anything's sneaking up on us. But, like, I think in the back of his mind knows, like, we are inside this creature, and it is way outside of his realm of expertise, and he's just trying to tread very carefully, not do anything that might be interpreted as, bad to this creature, not using any, sort of fire magic or, anything. Just trying to be very careful and cautious and respectful of this thing.
Once we established that the cave was part of this creature, I think Mouse will just kind of crouch down and lay a hand on the floor and just, like, say a quick thank you, and just try to, like, send good vibes and gratefulness for showing us the path into the ice below.
Just to confirm, does Mouse have a good vibes ability she's using, or
this is just flavor? I don't actually expect anything to come of it. It's just what she's doing.
Fair enough.
Sweet.
I think what Aesop you get back is go ahead and both of you roll me an intelligence check to sort of comprehend it again. You kind of hear the shattering of icicles falling around you on your perimeter.
Can I always forget. Can I give myself inspiration?
Not typically.
I don't know why I keep forgetting that specific rule. I'm sorry, intelligence check?
Yeah, it's unfortunately it says a creature other than yourself.
Okay.
Oh,
duh, right there. Okay.
No, it's fine. And there are exceptions depending on your type of bard, so it gets complicated. But you're not able to get well, first of all, I need everybody to make a Constitution saving throw. The problem with speaking with a creature when you're inside of its icy mouth.
Okay. I apologize. Seems like everyone has doing a lot better than I am.
Yeah, I think you're
Probably
just
flavor.
Aesop's having a hard time with this. Make a roll for Murda, but in response to Aesop's words, which most of you don't understand or comprehend, you feel just sort of like a gust of wind circulating throughout the cave. It doesn't push you out, but it just is it's like standing in front of a cold fan that is just sort of blowing in your body and shaking you to your core. Those of you who... Oh, sorry, I rolled damage as Aesop. I did not mean to. Everybody succeeds except for Murda and Aesop, who suffer 14 damage. The rest of you suffer 7. As you feel just like your bones chilling. There's no outward hostility in that necessarily, but it's just there and present. And the voice that you're able to peel from it is kind of discordant. You're not sure that this is what it's saying, but these are words that you're sort of piercing together. It's the sound of like somebody who's mad, like insane. And it says like, my mind is fragmented like the ice upon the mountaintop. Madness creeps through me like an eternal winter. It starts to shout in sort of like as if dismissing a thought, and then it says, the cave shrinks and my form just diminishes. It mocks me. The convergence, a dance of skylight and thunder, a cosmic entity that descended upon the land. And it's sort of at this moment clacks with your earlier perception check of 1 as you're just sort of keeping an eye out on the perimeter of this space, that you see. You sort of like shine your axe in the direction of one of the walls, and suddenly a large fleshy eye stares back at you.
Fleshy?
It has tentacles. This is not an elemental. This is like an aberration. This is a creature that seems to have... You sort of shine your light in this moment, in a moment that's too late, as you shine your light upon the cave and find there are veins of blood running through it. And this creature, who seems to be latched upon the ice on the wall, turns its eye and looks at you before lashing out with a tentacle.
Oh no.
But we're going to start the next session with that, because nobody... because this thing is going to attack you. And the first combat in a while, actually, if I recall. So
Yes.
How upset do we think a big giant glacial elemental is going to be if I shoot off fire things inside of it.
I don't know. I don't know about that
I
one.
guess we'll have to see.
Yeah, I don't think. I don't know. You'll see.
I really just screwed myself up.